Hey guys, welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. Got a special for you today. As long as everybody shows up here, we are going to be doing our college game day pick'ems with a bracketologist. Bracket NKY from X or Twitter is going to be with us tonight, and we are looking forward to that. All right, guys, welcome in. It is Brad with College Sportscast. I have John Hammonds on here with me. What's up, Hammonds?
What's up, man? I got logged out of my email. I don't know what happened, man. Like it just logged me out, and I can't get into it.
We're running a second or two behind here, but we'll get it all in order here in a minute. So we are College Sportscast. This is our game day pick'em show that we do each week. This is week 25 of season 2 for us. We do have a special guest with us tonight, and I'm going to get him on. He is here with us now. What's up, man? We got NKY Bracketology on here with us. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys? John, Brad, nice to talk to you all. You can call me Hunter. By the way.
What was that?
You can call me Hunter.
Okay.
Yeah, can you all hear me okay?
You was on. Yeah, I can. It just cut out for just a second when you said your name. I don't know. I don't know. Everything else was fine. I just couldn't hear that for some reason. Just for a split second. But you was on with us last year one time. And he's come back this year, I believe, if I remember right.
Yeah, I joined you all, I think, right before the SEC tournament.
And he's gone.
Yeah, we lost him for a second. I guess he'll come back.
Yeah, he'll come back.
He'll come back here in a minute. But all right, so real quick, he's coming back in.
Casper the Ghost.
My computer logged me out. This is the first time I've used Chrome, so it's a little different for me. So it's all good now.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was just saying you was on with us last year. I think it was in February. It might have been a little later in February. I can't remember now.
I think it was right at the end of February, right before the SEC tournament last year. Yeah, I came on and kind of previewed some of that stuff.
Yeah, because I wasn't on there. I was doing some other things, and I wasn't on the show at the time. But I've still kept pretty good tabs on him, though, on Twitter. So
yeah,
thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, he's a friend. He's a friend of ours on Twitter. He does his own bracketology. He's in with a couple of other guys. So I want to welcome him to the show. I'll let you kind of tell us about yourself and tell us about all the stuff that you're doing.
So I started Bracketology last year, like formally on here. I'm on Twitter, Bracket NKY. Also, my website's nkybbracketology.com. I started last year. It's kind of grown into, I have my own podcast now, the NKY Bracketology podcast. You can find us on Spotify and Apple. I focus mainly on bracketology. I've brought Michael and Zach in, just kind of as co-hosts of the bracketology. Zach has his own model, and then Michael handles like a lot of the bubble stuff. So we're definitely growing. It's great to join different podcasts and things like that and just talk some college basketball.
If I'm not mistaken, Michael goes by resumes. Am I right?
So on his top 25, he goes by resumes. I know
and he has some people that kind of they get thrown off with what he's doing with his top 25. And
so we do a weekly like top 25, and it's fun. But are all three completely different. Zach does like a predictive model, and then Michael has resumes, and then I do like an AP style. So we get a lot of fun banter back and forth.
Yeah. You guys are all three different the way you're going about it. You kind of have your own metrics and your own things that you're doing. So it's kind of fun to see the difference with you guys each week. And I'm always retweeting for you guys and the stuff that you do, especially on, I think it's Mondays when you put out the new poll and stuff like that. So I'm always doing that. And then you guys put out, of course, your bracketology throughout the week as well. So it's great to have you back with us. And we normally do what's called our Game Day Pick'em show here. And I do have some picks. I thought we would kind of talk about bracketology. And we lost him again. I thought we'd talk about bracketology. And then I thought we would dig into some picks.
I think he said it had something to do with his Chrome.
Okay, there we go. I switched to Firefox just now. Sorry, I don't know. Chrome said it was split, so I'm good now. I should be up and running the rest of the time. Sorry about that.
Okay, it's all right. I mean, heck, we all have issues. I have them sometimes too. So
I gotta hit Brad in the head with a hammer sometimes. So
listen, it's not easy running these things. John don't realize it, but
I have a different appreciation for trying to run a podcast now that I've started.
It is not easy running these things. I can tell you that. No, it's not.
So I guess what we need to do is just get into you was going to start it, I think, Brad, with the top seeds starting out and then go to the bubble talk. Is that what you want to do?
I am. I've got a little thing here. I thought we'd talk about bracketology, and then we'll kind of dig in at the end at some pick'em games. But I tried to pick some games this week with you on where there might be a bubble team here and there. There's a couple of games that maybe not, but most of them I think are within bubble teams and stuff like that, are close to bubble teams. So I thought we'd kind of hit that, but so we'll start out tonight with your, of course, number one seeds. Right now, heading into the weekend here, this is February 9th. We are about a month away from conference tournaments, something like that. Right now, what are your number one seeds that you have right now for the tournament?
So I have Purdue is number one overall. UConn is second. Those are kind of pretty concrete, like pretty clear above everybody else. Houston is closer to UConn than they are to my fourth one seed, but they're the third one seed. And then finally I have Tennessee. Tennessee finally made an appearance this Friday. Today was the first time they've jumped up to the one line. There's about three different teams kind of in contention for that fourth one seed, but right now I have Tennessee. I know John's a Kentucky fan.
No, it wasn't that. I was making the face because there's some losses in there that it's kind of, because you don't have a lot. Here's my thing about the one seeds. There's beyond what you see on those top lines. There's not a lot of teams behind that can really get to that point. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I have maybe 5 other teams that are even in play for a one seed if they win a bunch of games. Tennessee doesn't have a bad loss. That's the big thing right now. I was between Tennessee and Arizona for my final one seed. Arizona has the quadrant 3 loss, and then Tennessee does not. So that bumped Tennessee up there. Plus, Tennessee's offense has looked great. Other than that, the only other teams that are making any contention at a one seed are North Carolina. Marquette's got an outside shot, but they pretty much have to win out. Kansas, and then Iowa State. I think a lot of people are kind of just down on Iowa State because they played a terrible non-conference, but they're sitting as a 3 seed. They've jumped all the way up from a 9 all the way up to a 3 in the last.
Yeah, my question here, I guess, I would say, what about North Carolina? Because North Carolina beat Tennessee.
Yeah.
Head to head.
So I don't
mean,
use head to head. The committee has shown
I know,
traditionally.
but I'm just saying that they did beat them head to head in the season.
They did. Give me 2 seconds here. Everything's reloading on me. I'm sorry. I'll stay good connected, but I'm reloading. I had North Carolina and Tennessee up because I knew that was going to be a question. Because I've had that question today.
Here's the thing, Hunter, that most people don't realize about this tournament. It might not matter what seed you are in this tournament this year, because
it absolutely doesn't.
The parity among college basketball is unparalleled. You know, you look at a team like Kentucky, they could be a 4 or 5 seed and could be as dangerous, you know, as they would be a 1 seed. Or you could have a team like Wisconsin that's going to be inside the 4 or 5 range that could knock a team off in the first round. Like, to me, it's really not going to matter if you're a top seed or not, because
absolutely. Look at what we have last year. Yeah. North Carolina, or not North Carolina, UConn, FAU, Miami, all of those teams last year, San Diego State. I mean, we had just unparalleled parity last year, and it'll continue this year. I don't think being a 1 seed.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But having a higher seed does give you somewhat of an easier path. At least somewhat.
So, to a degree, yes. But I mean, what team wants to play like a streaky New Mexico team or an Indiana State or a Boise State even as their second round matchup?
Right.
Like, those are teams that got on the 8 and 9 line right now. Like, all of those are tough matchups if they're on. They're just not on every night. But
and you look at last year, you know, with the whole Purdue thing.
That 8-9 matchup for the 1 seeds is dangerous every year. Every year it's that way.
Well, and you look at FDU last year, Fairleigh Dickinson. Like, nobody expected them to come out of nowhere and beat Purdue, and then they fell in the second game to a really hot FAU team that went on to the Final Four. But you just don't expect that every single year. But last year was an outliner of how parity can destroy brackets, and you can pour gas, like as John Rossing says, you throw gasoline on your bracket basically at that point, because it's a.
I mean, I'm just saying all along. I mean, you know, that 8-9 seed, for if you don't come ready to play in the second round for a 1 seed, I mean, you can get knocked off in that 8-9 game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The team that I think UConn will be fine. Other than that, though, I don't know of a team that isn't going to be like in genuine danger of that 8-9 game. I think UConn's just they're a little bit more balanced and a little bit better than some of the other 1 seeds. I think Purdue, if you neutralize Edey, I mean, what else is there? Like, they're not one-dimensional like they were last year. I don't expect them to get beat by a 16, but they're not this like elite, like juggernaut of a team. If you can neutralize Edey, you have some chance to win.
But the question is, who's going to neutralize him in that 8-9 game? You're not going to get a lot of great matchups beyond that. You know what I mean? Till the Sweet 16, because there's some of those 8-9 games are usually little teams compared to what you meet in the Sweet 16 a lot of times.
I think New Mexico could really give Purdue some trouble. Just they're not interior, like their size isn't there, but the way that their guard play is just elite. Right. So I think they could give them some trouble if they ended up in that kind of matchup.
So who do you have for your 2 seeds? What's your 2 seeds tonight, Hunter?
Arizona, North Carolina, Marquette, and Kansas.
All right, Arizona.
I say that with a straight.
Fully agree with. Have to be a 2. Mm-hmm. Marquette and Kansas are the 2 that I would question, but not because of just because of. I think that they're probably the bottom 2 out of I would think that they're the bottom 2 out of your top 2 seeds.
Absolutely.
The only thing I question about Arizona is some of their losses.
Yeah,
they're weird, and I'm not saying that they won't get a 2 seed. That's not what I'm saying. It's just how will the committee view those Stanford games, the Washington State game, which Washington State might be an NCAA tournament team this year. They got a really good team.
Yeah,
Kyle Smith
great. Yeah,
might be one of the most underrated coaches in the country. But there's just some weird vibes around that Arizona team. Like they can look good 1 minute, and then the next minute they don't even look like a team. That has to do with Caleb Love too.
I mean, let's be honest. I don't think Kansas is the same juggernaut that they normally are either.
No,
they have
Kansas,
a great.
If you get Kansas away from,
they have a great starting five. They have a great starting five, but you get them outside of their starting five, and they're really not that good at all.
Their depth is really weak.
Yeah, and they've struggled to hit from the 3-point line this year too, which you can't just pack it in and expect to win everything. So that Kansas is going to struggle. I did have Kansas as a 3 seed, but I mean, you beat Houston by 15, you get to move up to a 2 seed. That's just how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. They played a really good game last weekend, so
Yeah, I think we could see a team like
goes to Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee's just. I'm impressed. They finally have an offense. That's a huge thing for them. They can can just go get them a bucket whenever they need it. Even in that loss the other night, they were able to score.
I mean, I'm a Kentucky fan, but Connect is a heck of a player. Yeah. I mean, he is.
I'll call a spade a spade. Yeah, absolutely. I think you could see an Auburn or an Alabama jump up to that 2 line. Auburn, obviously, they've been talked about a lot, but Alabama is just kind of underrated. They played a hard schedule, but they've kind of started to turn it on a little bit in SEC play. Yeah.
They did play a very tough schedule to start the season out early on. So who do you have as your 3 seeds, Hunter?
I have Baylor, Iowa State, Auburn, and Alabama.
Only thing that I would have against
Baylor,
Auburn,
I question just a little bit because I don't think Baylor's. They've had times where they just haven't looked that great, and they've lost a few games that I really didn't think they should have lost, especially 1 or 2 at home.
Yeah.
They're the one, and out of those 4 teams that I would question just a little bit. I realize they play in the Big 12. And their metrics are going to be through the roof because they play in the Big 12. So, I mean, I do get that part.
The only thing that I have against Auburn in that regard is they only got 1 quad 1 win. And
2.
Oh, 2. They got 2 now.
Yeah.
They beat Alabama Wednesday night. But
they got 2 this week.
Their resume is just not really good. Which they got some opportunities coming up. They got Florida on the road. They play Kentucky next Saturday. Auburn's got a gauntlet of a schedule to end the year.
Yeah.
And so they talk about offense. They got offense too.
Exactly. I think they'll be able to score with anybody. The issue is, and I've said this on my podcast as well, they played names this year that should have been good. They played Indiana. They played USC. They played Virginia Tech. I can't ding them for their non-conference schedule, but they are also 6-1 in Quadrant 2, which normally Quadrant 2 is more of a bubble type of thing than it is a 3-seed type of thing. But they're 2-3 in Quadrant 1 games. It's not like they're 2-8 or something like that where they've played a ton. I mean, I'm sure you all know the score from the Alabama game the other night, but they finally have 2 quad 1 wins back to back. They get Florida tomorrow. I mean,
that's really helpful.
Auburn,
to be honest, they haven't beat Florida. They haven't beat Florida since '96 in Gainesville.
So that's a huge game tomorrow. I highlighted
a lot on their play there too. In terms of history.
Yeah. So Auburn, it's kind of like the Big 12 teams. We talk about the metrics being inflated. We have to give them credit eventually if their metrics are inflated. I'm not just going to do that for Big 12 teams. That goes across the board. So they have great metrics. They look like
Auburn also. I talked about their offense, but they have a really stellar defense as well.
Their overall Auburn, I picked Auburn in the Final Four about 3 weeks ago, before they lost to Alabama and Mississippi State back-to-back. And, like, honestly, I'd stay by that. They're one of those teams that I think they're going to get hot. They're going to continue to gel, and I think they'll be fine come tournament time.
Yeah, I mean, they get Kentucky, at home in a week or so. That's going to be a big one for them. So, I mean, we'll just see what happens. I mean, honestly, Kentucky has not played good there and won there very often the last 3 or 4 years. So, I mean, that's nothing but the truth. So, 4 seeds. Hunter, who do you have as your 4 seeds in the tournament?
So I'm actually going to read my 4s and 5s. And the reason I'm doing this is there are a bunch of 4 seeds. Just some teams end up falling to the 5 line. So my first 4 seed is Wisconsin, and then it's Creighton, Illinois, and Dayton. Those are the end of the 4 seeds. The 5 seeds are Duke, San Diego State, South Carolina, and Clemson. Duke and San Diego State have a solid case for a 4 seed. And I don't know if Dayton ended up winning or not, but if they lost, they'll fall to the bottom of the 5 line pretty quick.
Right. My question is South Carolina. I mean, we have seen what they've done the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I mean, they have just been playing some really, really stellar basketball, knocking off Kentucky, knocking off Tennessee. And keep winning, I mean, so they're 19-3 or something like that now. So I think is their record.
20-3.
They're finally ranked this week, and they bumped all the way up to 15th, which is where I have been saying they should have been.
I had them at 16
so I was glad to see that. Yeah.
So with South Carolina, I'll say they're flying under the radar because of their metrics. If they had the metrics of Auburn or somebody like that, we'd be talking about a 2 or a 3 seed. But they're still just kind of like flying under the radar. The predictive.
Do they play enough? Do they play enough here at the end of the season? Could they get to a 2 or 3 seed?
I'm looking at their schedule now. I'll say yes, tentatively. But I'll need to see where everything else kind of lands. Unfortunately, the committee has shown that they're willing to kind of seed based off predictive metrics some. So it's not just their resume that I have to look at. I have to look at the predictives as well. I think right now they're playing like one of the best 10, 12 teams in the country. I have them 12th overall in my top 25. They're rolling. But I would say they could get there. They have 5 quad 1 opportunities left, including Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, and Mississippi State. So
and two of those big games are at home. One of them's against Tennessee.
Yeah, they get Tennessee and Florida at home. They go to Auburn and Texas A&M and Mississippi State. So
those will be the 3. Those will be the 3.
I guess the big question here is what happens if they win the SEC? Because they're right there in the hunt to do that.
Yeah. I mean, a 2 or a 3 seed's not out of the question. I'll say probably a 1 seed's out of their reaches. But I would say a 2 or a 3 seed's definitely in the equation at this point.
So
that's fair.
I know you're on a Kentucky podcast too.
Yeah.
And my question to you is there a chance, coming down this stretch that Kentucky could get moved to a 5 or a 4?
We'll get to Kentucky. Are we going to go through the whole seed list?
No, I'm not. I was gonna jump after this. I was gonna do the first top 4 seeds and then kind of jump.
Well, the reason I asked that is because they was on that borderline 6 seed, 5 seed range, and I was just curious if a win, say maybe a win over Gonzaga. I know it's not going to move them much, but
I mean, call me crazy, John, but I think if they if they were to run the table where they are, I don't see how you could keep them out of a 3 seed.
Yeah, if you run the table, you're a 3 seed. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
The problem is they don't have to go on the road to Mississippi State. They don't have to go on the road to Tennessee. They don't have to go on the road to Auburn. Those are 3 tough environments to play in.
I know this, John, but I'm just saying if they were to do that, I think the 3 seed is definitely in play.
That's a big
I don't give a lot of personal like bias or anything like that. I will say I grew up in Eastern Kentucky. I grew up a UK fan. I'm not a huge UK fan now just because of like where I live. I'm more of a Xavier fan. So I'm a Big East guy. I'm not a huge UK fan just from that standpoint. That being said, my wife does go to Kentucky. She's a medical student at UK right now. So I'm not in part like I don't hate Kentucky by any measure. I do definitely think they're a 6 seed for me right now. I think they could end up at a 2 or a 3, probably at 3 is their max if they won out. More than likely, they're going to be a dangerous 4 or a 5. But I did have them picked a couple weeks ago on my like podcast to win the like national title. Like their upside is crazy. I don't think defense wins championships. I think offense does. So I know that UK fans are down, and I understand the
You gotta
frustration.
have some defense though, and that's been their Achilles.
Well, see, here's the issue: is it's not so much their defense; it's the fact that their 3-point defense is really, really bad.
So you run up. I mean,
No,
it all depends on how you get scheduled in the tournament. Like you could get seeded really well or seeded really poorly. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm a Xavier fan. I watched them last year. What's up?
We got a guest that's asked a question. I was going to try to get it up on the screen there for you.
Okay.
So what's happened to the Wolverines is what he says.
Oh, Michigan needs to just get on with Juwan and go on. I don't know what else to say.
Well,
yeah, I don't know. They definitely are not making the tournament.
And I'll say this on.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. I went to Michigan. I actually met Zach, my one of my co-hosts in Michigan, and saw Michigan play live against Illinois. It's bad. It's time to get rid of Juwan and move on. I'm sorry. I know that's not what you want to hear.
To bounce off what you said there, to bounce off what you said about Kentucky, you know, we could, you know, you look at last year, UConn. You know, I think there was 3 games in early February where they just looked really, really bad.
Yeah.
And they went through the tournament and just destroyed every team that they come in contact with. And I'm not saying that's what Kentucky's going to do. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you can't base what's happening now, what's going to happen in March, because it's a different game.
So what I'll say to that is UConn was had won like 22 games in a row at one point on their non-conference opponents. So as a Big East guy, I watched UConn play live twice last year. I will say it's a schematic, like coaching type of thing. I watched UConn come down to Xavier and get beat. UConn got beat because Xavier outscored them. It was a great game. It was New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. It was amazing. Honestly, it was a great game. But UConn got beat because they just got outscored. That's not happening as much this year because they have the defense to back it up. But UK, like from a UK standpoint, Xavier outscored everybody last year. They didn't have
some similarities there that you're saying.
Yeah, like I mean, they had an elite point guard in Boom, and Dillingham this year is an elite point guard. They're not the same, but they're just elite at the guard spot. And they'll go out and win. I think that UK will be fine. I think
they will.
So I'll get it on the record here. I've said it all like for 2 years. I'm not a Cal guy. I do think that Cal should step into an administrative role at UK and let somebody else take over. The talent on that team fits together well enough to win some games in March.
Absolutely. 100%.
That's coming from a non-Kentucky like diehard. So
100%.
Yeah, it kind of hurts to say.
The talent on this team is good enough, honestly, to challenge for a Final Four.
Yes, and it's not about the talent. So every year Kentucky's talented. It's about Kentucky being a collection of talent. Like Trey Mitchell was a great ad. Without him, I don't know where you all would be. It probably wouldn't be this high. But if you all can get like your guard play to play, you all are connected enough, and this collection kind of meshes together to at least outscore people. It might be 100-99, but
by the way, VCU won tonight. By the way,
did they? Nice.
Yeah.
So
49 to 47. It was really low score.
I was watching it right before I joined. It was ugly, but
it was an ugly
that's
game.
A huge win. Dayton's won, or not Dayton. VCU's won 8 of 9. That's huge. Great year for them. Dayton will fall to the bottom of the 5 line for me.
Who do you have for your last 4 in right now?
Ooh. So I have Mississippi State, Michigan State, Cincinnati, and Ole Miss are my last 4 teams in. It's a Magnolia State party up here in Dayton. And then I
got a question for you on that.
Hit me.
I love your stuff, but how do you got Michigan State in? That's what I want to know. I mean, because there's not a lot of – they don't have a lot of great wins. Like,
let me pull up – give me 2 seconds. Let me pull up their schedule. It's a lot to do with their metrics, and they do have a couple quad 1 wins. And we make fun of them for losing to Nebraska and teams like that, but Nebraska's a good team this year.
They are.
So let me grab their predictive metrics are really, really good. I don't expect somebody that a net of 24 to be left out. Again, this isn't
rarely
one
ever
thing that I want to make clear is this isn't me saying this is my opinion. This is what I think the committee would do. They're not leaving a Michigan State team out. They're 2-7 in quadrant 1.
Yeah.
But then they don't have a quadrant 3 or 4 loss to balance.
That's the key, right?
So no bad losses. Yeah. I don't like it, but it's where they're at for now.
Well, and 2, there's not – I don't even think there's been a team inside the top 20. I think we're
kind of talking together.
I think it's delayed, But
yeah.
I think what it is if memory serves me correctly, history serves me correctly, there ain't been no team in the top 20 of the net been left out, have they?
I think it's the top 30, but yeah, like
top 30,
they don't leave teams out in those. That's pretty safe. I wouldn't call them a lock by any means. If they go lose on Saturday, they may fall out. But they're
which that is a home game against Illinois. That's a huge game, really, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely. They need it. Illinois needs it too, but Michigan State should be desperate to win that one.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I mean, I was talking about the net rankings. They're not going to leave a team out that's 24th in the net. I just don't think that's going to happen.
We're talking last 4 in.
So
let's talk about your little team down the road, Xavier. They really got some really nice wins, and
ish. I mean, so I'm not biased by any means. I want everybody to know that I'm not going to sit here and say Xavier should be in or shouldn't be in. When they're playing well, they should be in. But when they're playing poorly, they lose to Delaware or Oakland. Like, I've watched them I have season tickets. They're not a tournament team yet, but they are right on the bubble. They're my 7th team out right now. Sorry about that. 7th team out.
They win tomorrow. They're most likely in because Creighton.
No, they'll be last. They'll be first 4 out for me if they lose tomorrow.
You don't think they'll win over Creighton?
Yeah, Creighton will be a good win. I mean, an excellent win, but it still won't be enough. I don't think to push them in.
I mean, they're sitting at 13-10 right now. Xavier is overall. So who do you have as your first 4 out right now?
So I have St. John's, Colorado, Nevada, and Seton Hall.
Nevada seems to be the kind of team that would be in the last 4 in and the first 4 out, seems like, because
Nevada's got a good one, I think.
But I don't know what the bubble really that bad, or is it just there's a lot of good teams, or how is it this year?
There's a lot of teams. I mean, I don't like. So I'm a Xavier fan. I've said that, but I also like Cincinnati this year. I like what Wes Miller has done, but I don't know that there's enough there for Cincinnati to get in yet. Their numbers are just really good from like a predictive standpoint, along with the rest of the Big 12. Seton Hall and Nevada, their metrics are still lagging behind a little bit. They have the wins to back it up, but their predictives aren't necessarily there yet. So that's what has them on the outside looking in.
Man, I love Seton Hall, but they play ugly, man. Like, it's ugly basketball.
Some of the big
but they got some awfully good wins.
Yeah,
they got 3 or 4 awfully good wins.
They play hard-nosed defense. They play grinder games, and in the Big East, that's what a lot of those games come into.
Seton Hall's got
Seton Hall. Let me pull up their metrics real quick.
Some awfully good-looking wins.
Yeah, but they're 67th in the net. They're 62nd on Ken Palm.
Right.
Their resume metrics are in the 60s. Like, they don't have good metrics yet.
Which is not great to get in. I get all that. Yeah. I mean, I get all that.
See, this is why we let
what's
you all do this, you and T3 and all these other guys, because I would be up all night driving myself insane with this stuff. Because
well, I mean, for me, there's no way that I would leave
it,
Nevada out, but I haven't haven't really studied their metrics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I really haven't studied their
metrics. The thing is, you got to really study that stuff because every single year, because if you don't, you're going to leave something out. And
I just watch a bunch of ball games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I watch
the eye test. It would be very different than what I do from a seedless standpoint. That's why I said I am projecting the committee.
Yeah, and I'll just be honest. I watch a bunch of games and I go by, what I see, who looks the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I do go by big wins. I mean, like Seton Hall having some really big wins. So big wins matters. I think. I mean, of course, it matters to metrics too when you have big wins like that. But
so one thing
anyways, who do you have for your next 4 out?
One thing with metrics real quick is how, you got to think of it as how do we compare 362 teams? I have watched all 362 teams this year. I've crossed every team off my checklist and I've hit them all. So I can say that I've watched every team. I couldn't tell you about most of those teams, maybe 30 or 40 of them. So it's hard to really watch all these games and then compare across the board. So that's why we use metrics. It's a way to even the playing field a little bit.
Let me ask this question real quick. Yeah. If you had to put, because a lot of times mid-majors don't usually get in on the bubble, just very rare. You'll see a team get in. If you had to put a mid-major on the bubble right now that has an absolute opportunity to get in, who would it be?
So I'm excluding the Mountain West when I say this. I'll say Drake. I like the way Drake plays there in the Missouri Valley. They're behind Indiana State right now. I don't think they'll catch them. So I think Indiana State will get that bid, and I don't think Drake will catch it. But I really like the way Drake plays, and I think they would be good in the tournament. I'd rather have them than
Tucker DeFreeze he's an unbelievable basketball player.
Absolutely.
I mean, so I would agree with you 100%, but Drake could still win the Missouri Valley Conference and get in.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they could get in. I mean, they're on my consideration board for an at-large. I don't think
and that's like I told a guy last night, even in the American Conference, FAU's probably going to be an automatic qualifier. So, what I mean, you don't think they're going to get in the tournament?
I think they'll get in the tournament.
That's what I mean. What I meant to say, they'll get in the tournament. But I think somebody of the likes of Charlotte or South Florida or Memphis is going to win that tournament. Charlotte is a team to watch, in my opinion. Charlotte has a really fun team.
UAB's been having some nice wins at home.
They have.
Absolutely.
You got to
That's going to be a fun turn. That's going to be a fun tournament.
I think so. We talk about bid stillers, like teams that wouldn't make it if they didn't get the automatic qualifier. I think the American will give us a bid stiller this year, whether it's Charlotte, South Florida, somebody like that. UAB's played really well recently. North Texas could go on a run. So I think that'll be one to watch and keep an eye on.
So here's my thing: right. Is FAU going to have another 9 seed and they're going to make another run of the Final Four? I made a joke about it last night. It just seems that way again, man.
I think that either Lenardi or one of the big names today posted that FAU, who was this year's FAU, and it was FAU this year. I mean, they're doing very similar. Their record's a little worse, but they're the same team.
They're the same team, and they're doing the exact same things that they did last year.
Yes, exactly. I don't like FAU. I don't think they're as good as what all the people have hyped them up to be. I think they're going to get in as an 8 or a 9, and I wouldn't bet against them come March. John L. Davis is just a dude.
And I'll say this: the one seeds, I think they're a lot stronger this year than they was a year ago. Which
I think the first 3 1 seeds are really strong.
Which, granted, Purdue lost that game, and FAU didn't have a chance to play them because it was FDU that beat them. But I think FAU is going to have a harder time getting out of that game, out of that second round this year.
FDU almost beat FAU last year in the tournament as well.
They did.
Yeah. All right. So your conference breakdowns right now, Hunter. How many Big 12, SEC. I mean, give me your top team conference. You don't have like top 5 or 6.
So I don't have my numbers calculated, but I will say the Big 10 or the Big 12 is first. I
Right.
think they have 9 in right now with a possibility for 10. The SEC is up there. Big 10 is up there. The Mountain West I have 5 teams in with Nevada. We talked about Nevada.
That's absolutely insane,
Yeah.
isn't it? Like
It's not insane
Hey, I
because
think the Mountain West deserves it.
they do. To me, they're not even Power 5. I don't even count them as a Power 5, or I don't even count them as mid-major. They're a
so
Power
I count
5
them as a
team.
power. I count it as a Power 7 at this point. That's why I excluded them when I said mid-major earlier. I count it as a Power 7 with. I still give the Pac-12 and the ACC credit for being a power conference. Pac-12 will be gone, so we're gonna have a Power 6 after this year. The Mountain West is absolutely a power conference. I know people on the East Coast don't stay up for it. It's great basketball and it's fun to watch.
Absolutely.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem you got with the Big Ten. Beyond Purdue and Illinois and really Wisconsin, there's not
honestly, John.
there's
I
not a lot
agree
of
with
great
you.
teams. There's not a lot of great teams
That's
in there.
the one. If you ask me, the Big Ten, I mean, you go 1, 2, 3, and maybe 4. And after about 4, do they really deserve to get some teams in? I don't think so.
Nebraska, I could vouch for because they have some really good wins.
I am giving Nebraska all the credit and this is a lot just because I interact with a lot of their fans now. They've come out of the woodworks. All those football fans have come into the basketball scene. I like Nebraska just because, I mean, CJ Wilcher plays for Nebraska. He transferred from Xavier as well, but also Tominyaga is just really fun to watch.
I call him Tomahawk. He's not afraid. He's Steph Curry of college basketball. He's not afraid of taking a shot from midcourt. Like he's not afraid of the game.
Like that's what March is made of. They're made of these guys that aren't afraid to take the shot, that won't shy away from the moment.
That's true. All right, guys, we're going to dig into some picks here. I've got some games here that shouldn't matter. You can talk about the bubble aspect of these games, if Hunter, and the first one we're going to talk about is Tennessee on Saturday. Tomorrow, Tennessee is a 3.5-point favorite at the Reed Center. So we will see what happens tomorrow. But Hunter, Texas A&M, while I don't think is like on the bubble as far as they're not in or right there, not, but they are, they are low enough that they could be considered a bubble team, I think. So what do you think?
So looking at Mississippi State played Alabama last week, lost by 30. Just got absolutely obliterated. They dropped from a 9 seed to an 11 seed for me. Texas A&M is in danger of doing something like that tomorrow. They're an 11 seed though. That's the problem for them. So if they mess around and lose by 15 or 20, it's absolutely possible. They were my 6th from last team in. So I have them as an 11 seed right now. They're my top 11 seed, but they could absolutely fall out of the bracket if they got blown out tomorrow. That being said, College Station is not an easy place to go in and get a win. I don't expect Tennessee to blow them out. I'll take Tennessee, but I might take A&M plus 3.5.
That was the spread this afternoon when I looked.
That's where I'm going to go with it because I just, Tennessee's a really good team.
Yeah. But
there's just been a couple of games where on the road they don't look as great than they do when they do it at home. And A&M is a really tough environment.
A&M, it is. They beat, they beat Kentucky.
And I tell you, and Texas A&M is actually getting healthy now.
Yeah.
The Aggies are getting healthy. And to me, if we're really going to talk about sleepers,
but guys, Tennessee
A&M's a sleeper team to win the tournament, SEC tournament.
Tennessee.
I worry about
I
Tennessee.
I think I'm gonna lay the 3.5 points in this game, even in College Station.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate it. You sent me these picks about 8:00. I spent 5 or 6 minutes just going back and forth about who I wanted to take here. I remember I watched the Tennessee or the Texas A&M Kentucky game. Like, it's hard to play on the road. So I'm taking Texas A&M, but I don't love the pick. So I wouldn't pick this in a pick 'em like group or anything for money, but I'll say A&M for now.
Right.
Well, and
Okay.
I even said today A&M is one of my sleeper teams, maybe to make a run in the SEC tournament, because they haven't really been healthy all year long, and they're finally starting to figure things out defensively and offensively. And they was picked to really be in the top of the conference early in the year preseason.
But
I had them picked to win it.
John. Who's their scores?
Tyrese Radford and Wade Taylor.
Wade Taylor. That's all you need. I mean,
outside of him.
Well, Boots, Tyrese Radford, he's hit and miss every now and then, but
I mean, if we're talking March, those are teams that you just want one guy to show up and just win the game. And Wade Taylor can do that for this team.
He can.
Yeah.
He can. I mean, I fully agree with you. He can. Absolutely. So my next game we're going to talk about, guys, is Illinois goes to Michigan State. We were just talking about Michigan State being one of the last teams in. For you, they are favored 2.5 points at home in this one. So, Hunter, I know they're clearly on the bubble for you. So I'm sure this is an absolute must win for them.
So, I mean, if they keep it close and they don't lose by 10 or 11 points or something like that, they can stay in the field. This is a great opportunity for them to get a quadrant 1 win and just jump back up to like the 10 line. So I'll take Michigan State. They're probably going to come out desperate, and I'm not betting against Tom Izzo.
One thing I don't like about this game, though, is, Shannon Jr. is back in the mix for the Fighting Illini now.
Yeah.
And he makes them more dangerous on the offensive side of the floor, they're probably going to have him on Tyson Walker, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But like you said, Michigan State is going to be playing desperate. They're going to be wanting to win. Because
if they don't come out desperate, there's an issue.
Right now they're in a position they've never really been in, honestly. I mean, there's a couple of years where they haven't had great teams, but this is a little bit different, I think.
Yeah.
And this is on the line for Tom Izzo.
Yeah.
Like Tom Izzo's never not made the tournament.
Yeah.
Up there.
Exactly. I've been higher on Michigan State than others have for the most part this year, but they finally have crept down with that loss to Minnesota. And it's time for them to put up or shut up kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, they should be playing desperate. This is at home. Yes, Illinois is a ranked team and everything, I get it, but it's a game that I think I'm going to take Michigan State in at home with their backs against the wall.
Yeah.
For me.
I agree.
All right. So the next game that we're going to talk about is North Carolina is a 4.5 point favorite at Miami. Miami has fell to 15-8. They really have struggled at times this year. I wanted to ask you, I put this one in. Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to put this in. If they could win this game, does Miami have a path where they could get in? Do you still think or no?
So they're still under consideration. That is a very loose term for the first 30 to 35 teams out. So if I say under consideration, that's not necessarily close. I'm pulling up. I haven't looked at their team sheet, to be honest, in detail in a couple weeks.
Here's the biggest question, though, Hunter. Don't mean to interrupt, but this game's bigger for Miami than it is for North Carolina, which, North Carolina lost to Clemson at home. I think it was Tuesday, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday night. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was Monday. No, it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday.
It was Tuesday. Yeah, you're right.
But I don't think Miami's going to come out not ready to go. I mean, this is a game at home. They played really well at home. They're going to be pumped up for North Carolina. Now, they haven't been pumped up for these others. Wake Forest, I think they got whipped really good by Louisville. Louisville beat them.
Louisville beat them
really scored 38 at home. They scored 38 points against Virginia the other night.
Well, here's the thing. When they play bigger teams like Dukes and the North Carolina, I feel like they play better. I don't know what it is. I guess it's just the name on the front of the jersey. But I don't expect Miami to lay down in this game at all. I think they'll play hard.
I don't either. But also, one thing I want to mention is it's a huge game for Miami. It's their chance to really get back on the radar. But North Carolina just laid an absolute egg against Clemson at home.
North Carolina, they look really good beyond Kentucky and UConn, where they hadn't lost since then. Then they lost to Georgia Tech. Then they come out and they lost to Clemson. They look really good in between there. But it's like they're Jekyll and Hyde at times. Like they'll play really good one night, and then it's like the next night you're just trying to figure out how did they lose that game? Like for instance, the Georgia Tech game. How did they lose that game? Like it blows your mind how they can look good the 1 minute, and in which I know that's college basketball and it's going to happen every single year. But some of their losses have been kind of weird if you want to know the truth about it.
Yeah. And I mean, absolutely. North Carolina's been weird to kind of seed. They kind of crept up to my one line and then just stayed there. But the big thing with them right now is they need to come out and play. Baycott mentioned something in his presser the other night that really concerned me. He said that they didn't show up for practice on Monday very well. And then the next day they all showed up late to shoot around. Hubert Davis needs to get control of this team. We think he's a good coach, but are they just scaping by on talent right now?
I kind of think so a little bit, to be quite honest with you, if you ask me.
If we want to be fair, I know Baycott is the main.
And they struggled last year. North Carolina did. They missed the tournament, and they should have never. They were preseason #1 last year.
Never had happened before.
Well, in which I know Baycott is their main cog, but RJ Davis is what stirs the drink for them.
And RJ Davis is their best player.
And when RJ Davis is not on, North Carolina's off.
Absolutely.
And in this game, for me,
going forward,
even though this is on the road in Miami, I think North Carolina probably rebounds here, and I'm gonna have them covering in this game in Miami. It's a game that Miami absolutely has to have if they're going to make a run to get in.
Yeah. I have Miami's schedule up. I mean, they have North Carolina twice, but other than that, they have Duke and Clemson. They have 4 big opportunities here. They need to go win some games.
Well, that's probably 4 quad 1 games or something?
Yep, 4 quad 1 games.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if they could go 2-2 and win most of the other ones that's left, maybe.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
and I'm saying maybe.
If they can win 2-2 and then win out the rest of them, that would put them at 6-2 to end the year. They'll be right there. They may not get in, but they'll be close. At least
they would be in the conversation. They would be right there.
Then they would probably have to win maybe 1 or 2 in the ACC tournament to even think about getting in.
So I try not to put too much on the conference tournaments, just because the committee has shown they don't necessarily value those a ton,
especially after the first round or 2.
Yeah. So if you don't take Miami may get Louisville again. If they don't lose to Louisville, it's not necessarily going to affect them one way or another.
See, here's what kills me about those early ACC tournament games, right off the bat, those Monday games, is because you're not really into it. You don't. You're just waking up. It's a noon game, and you lose, you're done.
Yep.
And some of these teams don't come out and they don't give it 100%, and it's over with.
I mean, come out for every game. Every game matters. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about
especially in March.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, guys, for these conference tournaments that people don't want to talk about and that very rarely gets mentioned is momentum.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, if you ask me. You got to come in there trying to keep some good chemistry and momentum going into March Madness.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, the teams that stumble are teams that don't play good in the conference tournaments.
Yeah. And one team I want to mention that I think might be on that path is Tennessee this year. I'm kind of worried they're peaking right now. I mean, it may prove me wrong over the next 2 months, but
Listen,
they did.
I'm trying not to throw any barbs here, okay? But that's kind of a Rick Barnes. I mean,
staple.
that's kind of what happens.
I'm worried that's exactly what he's doing right now. Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm just going to throw that out there. That's all I'm saying.
I know I'm on a Kentucky podcast, so everybody's going to agree with that, but I am worried about that.
That's all I'm saying. That's all. I'll leave it at that. All right. So our next game, this one, I did not see a spread on this one, but it is tomorrow night. Boise is sitting at like 16-7. They are in the Mountain West. Utah State is still ranked. They're like 19-4. They're like ranked 22nd in the country or something this week.
Yeah.
This is at Utah State. I think this is probably going to be a pretty big game for Boise, I would think.
Well, and Boise, if y'all remember, they went on the road to the pit and beat New Mexico. So they're not accustomed to not going on the road and winning. So, but
the pit might be the hardest place in the country to play.
It is.
Honestly, I'm worried to say that.
I agree with you.
Listen, New Mexico, when they play in the pit, they turn into the '98 Chicago Bulls. Like it's that.
I agree
it's that
with
impressive. Like
it is a tough place to play, but do they have a shot here going to Utah State? I mean, I figure I'll ask you: do you have Boise in or out right now?
In. They're a 9 seed for me right now.
You have them in? Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
So after the win at the pit, they jumped. We don't see a ton of like 2 and 3 seed moves very often, but they won at the pit convincingly. They actually moved they were my last team in that night. They moved all the way to the 9 seed, and they've kind of just stayed level there in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, see, here's what people don't realize is a lot of those teams like Boise State and teams like New Mexico and certain ones, they're not going to move much up to the 6 and 5 range. They're going to hover unless they go on a really big run. They're going to hover around the 7-10 line, the 8 or 9 game.
Yeah,
and that's just the way it is because there's too many good teams in front of them that have better resumes and such. But
it's more about better opportunities to in conference play.
In the Mountain West, you don't have as many opportunities as you would say in the SEC or the Big 12. You don't have that many.
There's only 6 good teams in the Mountain West, and they're not the same level as the Big 12 teams are, or even to a lesser degree, the SEC is similar as in that aspect. I have Utah State at the 6 line right now. They can move up with a win, but they're not going to move up like a crazy amount.
But on record, I think Utah State wins this game. I didn't even make a pick, but I think Utah State wins this game. Utah State is a really fun team to watch. They're exciting. If you didn't watch the last weekend,
they lost this week earlier this week, by the way.
That was a fun game too.
Yeah. I mean, some of these games, the way the Mountain West schedule has panned out this year, there's been clumps of great games. So Utah State's coming off a 2-game losing streak. They're favored by
got one on my TV. We got one on right now, Nevada and San Diego State's playing right now.
Yeah.
Tied with 3 minutes to go. So we're coming down to the last minute. So
nice. Boise is plus 3.5. So I'll take Utah State minus 3.5 there and not care about it at all. I think Utah State will rebound here.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going to go with this. They're due for a rebound at home. So I think I'm going to take Utah State in this game as well. Our next one, I went out to the Pac-12 to look for a game that I thought would be a bubble team. We got Arizona, who is coming off of a 3 overtime marathon the other night against Utah. That was so fun to watch last night, wasn't it?
It was last night. I didn't get to watch it because the Pac-12 network's invisible, but yeah.
Yeah, it was on Pac-12 Network. Yeah, I was watching. It was a marathon. It was a great game to watch, by the way. But they're at Colorado. Colorado is a 1.5-point favorite earlier today when I looked at
Well,
home.
and if I remember correctly, they beat Arizona at home last year. Colorado did.
I believe
Arizona.
so, yeah.
Arizona's had some struggles on the road, especially in conference play. So, and they are the underdog. Unfortunately, I didn't even realize they was the underdog. They're the underdog in this game. So,
yeah.
Yeah,
I'll take Colorado.
So,
Give me KJ Simpson in Colorado to beat Arizona tomorrow.
I know. I think you said you had Colorado as one of your first 4 teams out. I believe
I did. They're the second team out. Yep.
Second team out. Yeah. So this is a game at home. This is a perfect opportunity for them to get a quality win here. One of those quad ones.
What's
wins.
absolutely insane to me though is they're only 1 game up on Oregon and Washington State. Isn't that not crazy?
The Pac-12 has been wild this year. It's not a good conference by any measure, but the teams that have floated to the top are just really cool to see. Washington State, I want to see Washington State get into the tournament.
Here's the thing, and I tell people this all the time. UCLA has not had a great year.
Yeah,
but they are playing really good basketball right now. And let's not fool ourselves. Mick Cronin can coach. He's a really good coach. He can figure things out. I wouldn't be shocked if UCLA goes into that Pac-12 tournament and makes some noise out there.
I was going to ask you all what your thoughts were if he would go to Louisville. So Cronin, I don't like Cronin because I'm a Xavier guy, but he would fit at Louisville so well, and he would reignite that rivalry for you guys so quickly.
Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked if he's coaching at Louisville next year.
Me neither. He actually tried to fight one of the Xavier players his last season at Cincinnati. So I will say he'll bring the rivalry back quick.
By the way, that Washington, I was trying to find it for you, Hunter. The Washington State, the last time they went to the tournament, they had a guard. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson. They had Clay, and then they had what was the other guy's name?
I can't remember, man. I don't remember.
Capers.
Very good.
Marcus Capers.
Yeah.
They had Marcus Capers. That was a really fun Washington State. If I remember correctly, that was the last time that they went to the tournament. Am I right?
I believe so. Yeah.
They played North Carolina. They played North Carolina in the Sweet 16 and lost. That was the year North Carolina had that unbelievable team with Tyler Hansborough and those guys. They was really good. That was probably one of the best North Carolina teams of all time.
Yeah.
Hunter, I think you said you're going to take Colorado at home. This Arizona team this is another team, if you ask me, that has a really high ceiling. Yes. They also can sometimes have a raised up floor as well. So you never know what you're going to get with Arizona. They're kind of like Kentucky,
Yes.
You never know what you're going to get with them, but I'm going to take Arizona in this game on the road. But I'm not terribly confident in that pick. I wouldn't put money on it if it was me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm just saying. All right. So our next game, we've got Houston here as a 4.5-point favorite at Cincinnati. I would guess Cincinnati is squarely in the tournament in the Big 12 right now. But their record is like 15-7 or 15-8 or something like that.
Yeah.
Overall.
So what you got to look at with Cincinnati is they didn't play anybody in the non-conference. Their 2 marquee games were Dayton and Xavier.
Right.
They played terrible. And there's been a lot of conversation about the non-conference schedule for these Big 12 teams. I'm not going to talk about it when we talk about the 5 and 6 seeds, but when we're talking the bubble, it matters. just from the fact that they didn't have that many opportunities. Sorry, my phone apparently doesn't want to stop.
Oh, you're good, man.
But Cincinnati is my second to last team in the tournament right now. I like what Miller's done, and I think they've got a shot. But I'll take Cincinnati plus 4.5 tomorrow.
Unless Houston plays like they did against Kansas, because Cincinnati shot 40% from three against BYU, Texas Tech, and I think they hit over 50 against TCU.
Yeah.
But they won't do that against Houston. Houston, they get their hands in the lane, they force turnovers.
Really good defense.
They create a lot of easy baskets. This Houston defense is still special to me.
Yeah.
They just ran into a really good Kansas team last weekend. Kansas was hitting everything, and sometimes that's just what happens in college basketball.
That's fair.
And it doesn't take away from what Houston's done, though.
So Houston has grown since this, but I watched Houston play, I think it was November 12th or 13th in Cincinnati. They played Xavier this year at Xavier. They looked atrocious. And it was an ugly game where Houston won at the free throw line. It was, we're just going to foul you and hope you don't make your free throws. And Houston made more free throws than Xavier did, and they ended up winning. Cincinnati, if they can shoot, I think Cincinnati has a chance. But Cincinnati, CJ Frederick should hopefully be back tomorrow. There's about a 50-50 shot he'll play tomorrow. If he plays, they should be okay. If he doesn't, I don't like their chances. So I will say, I'm taking Cincinnati because I think Frederick's going to play. If he doesn't, though, I would take Houston.
What about Jizzle James? You know him?
I watched him drop 30 on Xavier the other night. That was –
You know what?
What a guy.
All kidding aside, people don't realize that's his real name, actually.
That came from his dad. Everybody makes fun of it. I've seen it in the national news all year, but that came from his dad. That's a family type of thing.
Yeah.
Good for him for keeping it.
For those that don't know, his dad was a former Colts running back, Edgerrin James. So,
yeah.
So I get it. He's going to be
CJ Fredericks would be a good added piece to this Cincinnati team tomorrow if he does get to play. He's been out for a little while now, and if he does get to come back and get to play here, that's going to be a good piece for them.
The only thing with CJ Frederick, he stays in all the time.
He does. He does have that issue a little bit.
He was down to Xavier in Cincinnati when he went to pick, and I'm glad he picked Cincinnati from a fan standpoint because of his injury history. That's all I'll say. I wish the guy nothing but the best, but he's been hurt more than he's been healthy.
Hunter, and take Cincinnati and take the 4.5 points at home.
Yep.
I think I'll go with you on this one. So the next game here that we're going to talk about, this is not a bubble game, of course. We got Baylor versus Kansas. It's at the Fog, and Kansas is a 6.5-point favorite. They were earlier this afternoon. I just kind of wanted to throw this in as one of the good games of the weekend and kind of get your thoughts on it.
So this is a great game. I mean, they're right there on the seed line together. If this was a neutral court, I'd take Baylor. But I have learned my lesson this year at picking against Kansas at home. I picked against them when they played UConn and when they played TCU and when they played Baylor. They show up and they do it different. I don't know what it is, but for whatever reason, they have it at home. So
I picked against them last week when they played Houston.
They're 12-0 at home, and they're 2-4 on the road. So
I don't like Kansas, but I'll take them here.
Well, basically what you get with Kansas is they win games at home, they lose games on the road. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And you got to accept that, even as a fan.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's not much else you can say. They have a great starting five. I will say this. Furphy, who is a freshman, has come in and been playing exceptionally well as their fifth starter. Has really kind of changed that team a little bit, I think, over the last, say, 10 ball games or so.
Absolutely.
For Kansas.
And it took a bit of transition.
Yeah, it did. The last 8 or 10 ball games, Houston last week. He had 17 points, had like 3 or 4 3-pointers. I mean, he's really playing well, and he's changing that team a little bit. But still, he's their 5th guy in that starting lineup, and you go past him, and they just don't have much.
Yeah.
But I will agree, they have been playing really well at home. I picked against them last weekend playing Houston at home, so I'm not going to do it this weekend. I'm going to pick Kansas in Lawrence because they always win there somehow.
Yeah. Whether it's a mysterious
it's just the way it is.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that comment. I don't even know what that comment is. Do you see that comment at the bottom?
Nope. I have no idea. I'm not sure what that's.
Look like the. Okay.
I have no idea what that is. Not a clue.
Just some crazy idiot.
Not a clue. All right. So this is the last game that we're going to talk about tonight. I picked 8 and then doing some bracketology here, so I thought this would be enough. Gonzaga goes to Rupp Arena tomorrow for the first time ever. They've never played in Lexington. This has been a long time coming. Fans from Gonzaga have wanted this, this series for a long time. Fans from Kentucky kind of wanted this matchup for a long time. Kentucky went out there last year and played them. It wasn't a home game. It was, I forgot exactly where
but it was at a neutral site. Technically,
it was a neutral site, I believe.
It was a neutral site. Yeah. But this time they are actually coming to Rupp on Saturday. This is a CBS game, 4:00 Eastern time tomorrow. Kentucky's a 4.5-point favorite at home. And normally I would say Kentucky is about the same as Kansas at home, but we've seen different than that the last week. And, does Gonzaga, who does not have a quad 1 win, by the way.
Yeah.
Does Gonzaga get a win here?
No. Kentucky's going to win. I'll take Kentucky minus 4.5. I don't like Gonzaga this year, so I'm rolling with Kentucky. Gonzaga's pieces don't fit together. Coming into Rupp's hard.
And Gonzaga's not a real good 3-point shooting team either.
No.
I
actually had tickets to this game. I had to give them up because of some other things popped up, but I'm very upset I can't make my first appearance at Rupp tomorrow. But
the biggest question in this game is, can Gonzaga slow down Kentucky's offensive firepower?
No.
Like,
and Graham Ike is going to get in foul trouble early. If he manages to stay out of foul trouble somehow, it'll be different. But he was in foul trouble against St. Mary's the other night. I look for him to get in foul trouble early and you all just beat them. I think it'll be, I'll say 8 or 10 points. Gonzaga is not a tournament team even this year.
I mean, I don't feel like this Gonzaga team is anywhere near what we have seen the last 4 or 5 years.
Absolutely.
From Gonzaga. Not even close. Yeah. I don't feel like they are. My question to you is this when it comes to the Zags here. If they continue down the road that they are on, they lost to St. Mary's last weekend. If they lose this weekend to Kentucky, they will get St. Mary's again later in the year.
Yeah.
But, their chances of having quad 1 wins are getting pretty slim.
They're going to struggle to make the tournament. So we talked a lot about.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Like we talked a lot about metrics and stuff like that. They're 25th in the net, but they don't have a quadrant 1 win, like you all said. Like that's awful. They have the last 2 games of the year are at San Francisco and at St. Mary's. They combine that with the at Kentucky game. Those are their 3 quadrant 1 games left. They need 2 out of the 3. I think the Kentucky game, if they don't win tomorrow, I would put them at less than a 30% chance at making the tournament without the automatic qualifier, of course. But
That's so strange to even say,
yeah,
I think.
It's hard to stomach even.
I mean, so just out of curiosity, where do you have them in the seed line right now, Gonzaga?
They're 7th out, mainly because of their predictive metrics. And once you get
out?
Yes. So once you get to that like 6th out line, it gets really ugly, and there's not a lot of teams that are even close to the bracket.
They're just not a really good team.
No. I mean,
yeah, but again, Hunter, I got to ask you, they're 25th in the net rankings. That goes against all logic when you say net rankings.
So net, 2 points here. I want to say we've talked about the AP poll a couple times, teams being ranked. The AP poll doesn't play into bracketology at all. I just want to make that like clear. It's a great tool for most teams to get publicity and that kind of thing, but it doesn't play in. And then the net rankings, they are a sorting tool. They are used to sort teams into quadrants. They're not this is the 25th team in the country. This is it's a quadrant 1 type.
No, but the top 30 usually make the tournament. Usually,
but we always have a first. Every year you can go into the bracket and find a first. Like we left a team out that was close to our normal numbers or whatever. You can find a team every year. Gonzaga this year is that team unless they get the AQ or start winning some games.
Right. I mean, I agree with you. That's the reason why I wanted to ask you about them here at the end, because I feel like they're in danger of not making the tournament, which doesn't even, I mean, it kind of blows your mind. Like
it's hard to stomach. It took me a while to really understand it. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, tomorrow, this is a perfect opportunity for Mark Few and the Zags to come into Rupp and to play out of their mind and maybe get a win. Like you said, they had San Francisco, and I know they play St. Mary's one more time before the end of the year.
Point, I think, too, both of these teams are going to play desperate, too, because, hey, Kentucky's lost back-to-back home games. Gonzaga has not been really playing well. Yeah, they won the other night, but they're beating up on horrible competition. They haven't really played anybody up to par since non-conference. They really haven't played a lot of great teams. San Francisco's fair, decent, but they're not in the top leagues like SEC.
Santa Clara has been okay out there, but I don't know what their metrics are. They're probably way down the list. Santa Clara is.
Yeah, they're pretty far down. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I figured they was. I to be honest with you, I haven't looked past like 80 or something.
Yeah.
Santa Clara
what I mean? Yeah. It's a
okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I do look at metrics and everything, but I'm going to be honest with you. If you're below 80, I probably don't pay attention to you a whole lot.
If you're below 80, you're not making the tournament.
Exactly.
So
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a fair justification.
Yeah. I really don't pay attention to it a lot. It's not like I look down through there and be like, oh, Louisville's 197 or whatever it is. I don't know. I have no idea. You know
Don't
what I mean?
lie.
Like,
You
I
look
have
at
no
Louisville.
Well, the biggest thing with the net is 1 minute you'll win a big game and then you'll drop 2 or 3 spots and it's like, what?
I don't love the net.
Like I said, if you're below 80, I don't pay attention.
Yeah. Louisville's 188, just for your reference.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
I was close.
You were close.
I was. I have no idea, to be honest with you. All right, so in this game, I've got to go with Kentucky at home. They have to have a bounce back. If they lose tomorrow in Rupp, they may have to have security guards escort the team outside of Rupp tomorrow.
Cal better do the radio show if they lose.
That's all I'm telling you. If they lose in Rupp tomorrow, They better have security ready, is all I'm saying. Because Kentucky fans are going to be through the roof losing 3 in a row at home if that happens.
I just kind of want to say though, I'm thankful that NKY got to come on tonight. He's a really fun guy to hang out with, talk to, and he does a lot of good stuff on Twitter, even though our group chat may say otherwise. We have a wild group chat. Let me just tell you, a college basketball group chat.
Yeah, it gets heated.
Sometimes it gets on the verge of explosion at times, but at the end of the day, we all like each other. We talk ball every single Saturday, and that's all that's important, man. Like, as long as y'all get along, y'all want to talk ball, I'm down for it. I love talking ball. Like, ball is my and that's like
I told Hunter, I told you last year, you can come back anytime. We love having you on the show.
That's like that time of year. I get on people all the time about being a casual. If you're really going to watch college ball, you need to watch the whole year. I get that some just like it for March Madness and conference tournaments, but when you don't watch the regular season, like right now, San Diego State Nevada's in overtime.
Yeah.
When you miss these kind of games, you don't see the real effort that gets put into to get
FAU and UAB went to overtime last night.
Good game last night.
Arizona and Utah last night went to 3 overtimes, and that game was amazing. I loved it.
We actually have your buddy coming on next Friday night.
I heard you'll have fun with him. He's great.
T3 Bracketology. Yep.
Hunter, I appreciate you being with us. This is NKY Bracketology. So is that your website as well?
Yeah, so that's my website. You can find me at Bracket NKY on Twitter. It's the NKY Bracketology podcast on Apple and Spotify. So make sure to give us a listen or a follow. We appreciate everybody, and hopefully we'll be back on here soon.
All right, Hunter, we appreciate it. I just want to say how much we appreciate you being with us. It's that time of year. I love talking bracketology when it gets to February. That's my favorite time of year to actually talk about bracketology. I know that it's got to where it's done year round. There'll be bracketology done after the tournament for next year, just as soon as it's over with and everything.
Here's the thing,
and I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't pay attention to that a whole lot.
I don't blame you.
Right after the national championship, there's always a bracket that comes out. Like we just declared a champion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I do not put out one until I put mine out on Halloween every year. For that reason, I don't like
because the thing about it is all the rosters are moving. People are moving out of rosters, going to NBA. Like you don't know what that roster is going to be like.
Way.
Absolutely.
Even to me, even in November, for me, just me personally, I'm just not a big bracket guy.
I don't blame you.
I love it in about mid-January on. That's when, because I feel like mid to 20th of January on, that's when you start hitting the meat of conference tournament, conference play. And you know what I mean? So I just feel like that's when it's really important and really important to talk about. I love talking about it we still got about 5 weeks,
left.
Something like that before Selection Sunday. So if we can get you back on in 2 or 3 weeks or something like that, we would do that as well. So, but we appreciate you being with us. Our show this week on Sunday, we will not have our weekend wrap-up show. Just want to let our viewers know that I will be in Lexington at Rupp Arena covering the women's Kentucky Wildcats. They play Sunday evening, and I will be there covering them. So we will not be doing our weekend wrap-up show We will have a wrap-up show and a Big Fuss combo show on Tuesday, February 13th at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9
Valentine's Day, man. Valentine's Day coming up, bro.
Yep. It'll be the day before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That'll be our next show, and we'll kind of do a combo show and talk about all the stuff, these games that we just talked about over the weekend, and the polls
and how much
will come out. The new
how
polls
much you love Tennessee, and how much you love the Vols that day.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. We know it. Yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate you being on with us, and we will see you guys next Tuesday, the 13th. Y'all have a good night.